Detail, hold. Prepare to post colors. Ready, post. Recover. Present arms. Order arms. Left face. Forward march.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Ackerman guards for El Paso, Douglas, and the Sheriff's Office. I'd like to welcome you here today, and thank you for coming for our sister, aunt, colleague, and friend, Peg. Lots tougher than you think in all the years of being in front of the mic. This is the hardest. But I've been honored to do a lot of things for Peg. This one is bittersweet. Because it's one more thing. But this is the first time that she can't say anything about it. Obviously, all of you know that, so now we're in a good spot. Some of us read the memo and remember it to be Rocky's here, which is good. So I'm sure that today, after the first 10 or 12 hours, we're going to make sure we know a lot of things about Peg that we didn't know before. Peg's true love with the Rockies, and what more can you say about that? So we thought it'd be nice to say that if anybody's getting too long-winded, we're going to handle it just like we were at a ball game. I'll come up, stand next to you, and signal to the bullpen for the next pitcher to come up. But I don't think that's going to be much of an issue for us. So first off, I'd like to introduce to you her niece, Julie Krause.
Hi everyone, I'm going to try to get through this, so bear with me. First, I just want to thank all of you for coming and sharing your memories of Aunt Peg. My mom and I were talking about how Aunt Peg would likely be a little irritated at all the fuss over her, but we know she would certainly actually have really loved this. And I want to take a moment just to talk a little bit about my Aunt Peg and how she was a role model and someone we could all look up to. She worked for the ERA, so my sister and I had more opportunities. I love how she lobbied for causes and issues she believed in, and I think she really helped make Colorado and just Denver a better place. I do want to take a moment to first thank Wes and Julie Ryder for their love and support of Aunt Peg all these years, and a reminder that she was often the hardest on those she loved most. Oh, and Wes, you'll need to take the stash of candy that Aunt Peg always had for you if you're rich. Aunt Peg lived in a wonderful neighborhood in Stapleton and sure loved to have block parties. She had great neighbors, and I want to thank Caitlin Winlock Molcock and John Linder, who were really great friends for her. And then we have Mike Beasley and his family. Aunt Peg sure adored all of you. Thank you, Mike, for arranging this beautiful occasion, and I can't thank you enough for going to Aunt Peg's house to get the Rocky hoodie that we gave her so she could wear it on the day of her passing. That really meant a lot to us, and I'm sure to her. Lastly, but not least, I want to thank Tom Hill. Tom, you were at Peg in our hardest times, and we can't thank you enough for your care and devotion to her. You're amazing. She said to my mom once that if she had a son, she would have wanted him to be just like you. So, I'd like to introduce you to Tom. Tom's going to read a note from my mom, Peg's sister, Nene, one of them.
Good evening today, everybody. This is from Peg's sister, Nene. If my sister Peg were here, she would be so happy to see her friends and colleagues together. She has told me so often about both working together and having fun together. Thank you for coming, as it means so much to our family. Team Peg, and you know who you are. You made her last months so much easier with your companionship, especially when she was undergoing treatments. She didn't complain and was hoping and planning to go to the Rockies games. Thank you for taking her to the games, as she loved her Rockies and it meant so much for her to attend. She was also planning to go to the Monet exhibit with me. I only wish it could have happened. Most of you know how she loved dogs, and especially her rescue greyhound, Zip. I feel she knows that Zip has a happy home, and that would make her relieved. We are so thankful to John Linder and his family for welcoming Zip as their newest family member. We want to thank and extend our love to LaDonna Lewis for her loving care and help to Peg in the past 6 months. In addition, we want to thank Denver Inpatient Hospice, who focused on Peg's care and comfort and helped us get through a very difficult time in the last couple of weeks of Peg's life. Peg really enjoyed being a lobbyist, especially for her beloved sheriffs. The sheriffs held a special place in her mind and her heart. We greatly appreciate the many wonderful things the sheriffs have written about her. And as you know, she was highly intelligent, but she never talked down to the rest of us. She was a very loyal friend and always wanted to help whoever needed it. I always looked up to her and will continue to do so the rest of my life. As is said, hers was a life well lived. I'm very proud to be her sister. Thank you, Nene. A few words from me. I was privileged to call Peg my friend for over 33 years, and also to be one of the people on her short list, along with you, Wes and Julie, who she would call if something went wrong or if she needed help. Peg had a lot of friends. Peg, just because she was a genuine human being and easy to say yes to and get along with, she had obviously tons and tons of friends and people that respected her. I don't need to tell all of you that Peg Ackerman had more integrity in her little pinky than most of us have in our whole bodies and ever will hope to have. Some of you are probably familiar with something that they call it the Code of the West. They're a list of 10 tenets to live by, and I really think that Peg embodied these tenets. So I'm just going to go down the list real quickly. And this is the Peg I knew. She lived each day with courage. She took pride in her work. She always finished what she started. She always did what had to be done. She was tough. but she was fair. When she made a promise, she kept it. And anyone who knew Peg knew that she rode for the brand. She also talked less, but said more. And I just want to say something about that. Peg was effective at being a lobbyist because a lot of the things that she did were kind of behind the scenes. She would sort of let things play out the way that she knew they were going to. She knew that she didn't have to manipulate very much. She just was really, she was a natural at getting things done. And she didn't talk a lot, but she got a lot done, and she changed a lot of people's lives because of it. Also, she always knew that some things weren't for sale. And she also knew where to draw the line. So, those are all things that were part of Peg, and whoever came up with that Code of the West thing must have known Peg, because that's how she lived. Thank you.
Well, some of you suspected I was writer. This is my wife, Julie. Again, it's tougher than you think. I knew Peg and her reputation in the mid-1980s when I was on a state patrol and assigned to the governor's security unit. One of the first things we were told is, this is Peg, she works for the sheriffs. That was it. It was like she was the next governor. She was and the respect that I gained from her there was phenomenal. Then years later, I was off patrol, and Julie and I had a construction business, and we were referred to Peg by a mutual friend to go consult with some remodeling at her house. Well, after months of living and working in the midst of all the dust and dirt, we had finally transformed her old Victorian house into her home and office. She actually still liked us. And after all that, began a friendship that has lasted over 20 years. A few years later, I became coroner of Douglas County. During the time working with Peg and the Coroners Association, we were able to bring much needed standards and training to the office of coroner. Once I was terminated and out of office, I still do every step and everything that the sheriffs were doing. Which meant a lot to me. There's a couple of sheriffs in here that can actually attest to that most days. So, from my wife, Julie, who's not going to speak today because she had a procedure done on her throat, loves to talk. But for the first time in 34 years, I get to talk for her. So, over the years, when people have asked her what she does for a living, the stock answer was, I'm office manager for an office. But she was actually paid because she was quite proud of that. And took the opportunity when they wrinkled their noses up to her lobbyists to explain to them with pride that a good lobbyist actually plays a critical role in politics. Peg was one we could undeniably testify to as a straight shooter, honest, well-informed, and devoted to helping those she represented make the very best decision with the most information. She was brilliant in her knowledge of the subject she needed to do her job. She spent the rest of her time away from the legislative session in the state capitol researching and building on her vast wealth of information. Julie was witness to this for over 17 years working for Peg because she's trying to do her job, Peg's doing hers, and wants to drag her into it. So a couple of quick stories. When Peg purchased her Chevy Bolt, which she was very proud of, and enjoyed driving because it was eco-friendly, we came to town, she always wanted me to drive, and that's like sticking your knees up behind your head after you crawl in there with the pickle shoot. We always did. So the day that she decided she was going to go out and purchase it, we had to go with her to the dealership and pick the car out, which we did. It came in a couple of weeks. The salesman was going over all the bells and whistles. And his biggest mistake, he didn't know what he was talking about. Well, after 30, 45 minutes, he was well schooled on how to sell a Chevy Volt. Because Pig had already got online, knew everything about the car, including stuff he didn't have a clue about. So that was our Pig. It's these kind of events that let us know how much we meant to her. When she bought her house in Stapleton, there was conversations. We live way south. Hey, buying Margaret. It's 20 minutes closer to us. Because as Tom said, there was 2 phone numbers that would always ring. Nope, we're going to Stapleton. Yeah, we. And if you know we means you, okay, you haven't figured that one out. And she called up one Wednesday or so and said, be here at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. We're going to drive over there and take a look. I'll buy lunch. By the end of the day, we picked out the lot, picked out the house, wrote the contract on the house, and it made the schedule for when we were going to go pick out all the stuff in the house. And that's the way it was. So she shared much of her fantastic life with us at one time or another. Whether it be taking a road trip, which nobody could tell a story like that. In the Capitol, it was one thing, but you got her own. You felt you were there at the time and place in her mind. You knew the people that were part of the story, and you were doing everything with them. Absolutely amazing. But that's something that people here didn't always get to see because it was all business in this house. We celebrate birthdays with Tom and Peg, her style, because that was the biggest crowd we were going to get at her birthday. And then always going over for lunch or dinner, taking care of a honey-do list that we were going to do. She had an incredible life as a lobbyist, women's rights activist, scientist, and researcher, animal lover, teacher, museum enthusiast, and a huge Rockies fan. The richness of Peg's life and her devotion to those she loved will forever remain in our hearts. She will be missed as a friend, but there's no doubt she left this place and this world a better place. And my memory's off, I don't know who's next. Peggy Reeves and Peggy Kearns.
No, it's the Peggies.
I'm sorry. I can't. I have been corrected by okay.
Well, known as the Peggies. And here's the number 1 thing. Number 2, number 3. I was the late number 2 of the group. We were all 3 Margarets. And we just got a big kick out of the fact that when the 3 of us were together, we struck fear in the hearts of everybody, right? Particularly when we got on the elevator with them.
And particularly when Peggy Lamb joined us.
Oh, that's right. Great Peggy. I don't know any Peggy since then. Okay, well, we're going to tag team within our time spot here.
I met Peg when she actually lived in Fort Collins, over on Oak Street, not too far from where I live. And at the time, she was, I forgot to bring these over, at the time, she was doing these legislative almanacs. And so you might want to come up. I think John Strayer is here, and John brought CSU students down here for close to 40 years. So he got to know Peg as well. But she was doing these almanacs, and they would basically if you wanted to know who was in the legislature, background about them, and that kind of thing. There was no computer that would do it. So Peg was, whoops, I'm falling over this thing. So Peg would, she would write these. The interesting thing to me is, the first thing I want to say about her is that she was an early adapter. And I think many of you know her or knew her as an early adapter. The sad thing was the computers came in and the internet, and there was not a need anymore for you to have a book that you could look up a legislator from Denver or a legislator from Grand Junction or from somewhere else and find out something about them, have some research on them. So computers came along, and no longer was she doing the almanacs, but you might want to take a look at those. She, in her home, she had the latest thing in terms of any computers or gadgets. She was up to date on them. If she were giving gifts to your children or to you, she knew the latest thing that was going on. It was just absolutely amazing. And the house in Stapleton, she met with her financial guy, and they decided that the best investment for her was to buy the house in Stapleton, and Wes and Julie were talking about that. So she bought it with the intention of eventually moving there, but initially she would go ahead and buy it, use some of her money that she had, and that was one of the wisest investments. She was so smart in that. People lived there for a while, they wanted to buy it, she said, no, I'm moving in. And she did, and so, and she loved it out there once she got there. So she's an early adapter.
Yes. Well, Peg was my baseball buddy. I have season tickets, or my husband bought the season tickets, and that's 81 games. After he passed away 10 years ago, Peg said, well, Lynn Myers and I'll buy 25 games from you. But yes. But anyway, so she did, and she loved going to the games. She loved it, and that's not an overstatement. And she had her favorite players, and she liked the seats, but my seats are 2 on the end behind home plate, and so she perfected the fact there are all these, in front of us were 2 or 4 seats, and they were given to Cora's employees. And so she perfected the lean out, one usher told me he was afraid she was going to fall. And then, of course, when the guy in front of her shifted, Lynn had to move the other way. And she always brought peanuts and water, and pretzels and water, and had 1 hot dog. So she was great, and she made friends with people around her, and the ushers really liked her and watched over her, and that touched my heart. The second thing I want to say about the Capitol was that and I loved what you said, and what Tom said, she was the conscience of the place. She had such integrity, one of you used that word, and she was the smartest person I've ever met. But she knew the bills inside out, and when I was the legislator, I bet you agree, she just told you what the bill was, and she told you the truth. She told you who was against it, who was for it, what might be wrong with it. I mean, she told it flat out, and so you never missed a beat if she was lobbying for the sheriffs who she loved. And I'll talk about her love for the sheriffs in a minute.
I wanted to tell you another kind of personal thing. Peg would come up for Thanksgiving at our house. We always counted on that. And what she would do every year or during the year, she would buy wines, not expensive wines, kind of middle-of-the-road wines, and she would lay them down. That meant she would put them in her initials, her cellar on Downing Street, or her house when she was out in Stapleton. And about 10 years later, she would take the wines that's 10 years old from when they had it and bring them up to our house, and she would come usually around 2 or so we would have some wine sipping before we would go down to fish and eat. So this Thanksgiving, it was really kind of sad because this was the 18th year that we've done it at Fish. We did it at our house, but that's our son's restaurant. There were about 60 people or so there this year for Thanksgiving potluck at the restaurant, and so we did do a toast for Peg, so we certainly did miss having her with us. I mean, that's one of the traditions that's been there for many, many years, but we knew we would count on her for that. Also, we had a couple of other traditions. At one time, I lived right across the road from her, and so we would get up in the morning, and I'd be at her house by 6. Sometimes Debbie would come with us, other people would come, and we would go walking from 6 to 7. It was gorgeous over in, what is that park over there? Is it not City? We did go to City Park some. Cheeseman. Cheeseman is a gorgeous park. It was wonderful to be there early in the morning. And as long as it wasn't below about 15 degrees, her dog at the time could go with us. But she had even bought little booties for the dog's feet so that the veterinarian said, if it gets below a certain temperature, you can really hurt the dog if you don't have the booties on. But she also, and I did bring it with me, she bought us these hood things. And, you would look like you were from the Middle East now, wearing this thing where you could barely see out. And we would do like 4 layers of clothes. If it got much colder than 10 degrees, we did not go. It was good to get out early in the morning, and then you'd be back at 7, and then you could get ready and get on with your day. So I had so much fun, spending time with her. And
Those cold mornings,
even a couple mornings.
Well, I wanted to end my part talking about her 2 great loves. And the first was her family. And she bragged about you all the time. I mean, I think we know more about them than they know about each other.
That's probably true.
And she loved you, Dean, when you come to town and you two would go museum hopping. And she looked forward to those visits and taking the train down to Albuquerque and whatever, or then driving and flying to Seattle for the holidays. And the twins and their sister, she loved you very much. Well, her other love were the sheriffs. And she constantly told me about, the bills she was carrying for the sheriffs and the work she had done. But what she really loved were your thoughtful gifts at the end of the legislative session, the paintings and the pictures that she has everyone up somewhere in her house. And then the one time you gave her a dog. And I've lost the details on that, but she loved that dog. And she bragged about that dog. And she really wasn't a bragger, but she bragged about the sheriffs had given her that dog. And then she bragged about the fact that you all had bought her a parking place, or rented her a parking place. And she said, they want me to be safe when I walk from the Capitol at night to my car. And that just brings me tears now. She said they wanted me to be safe. So I want to thank all law enforcement, but particularly the sheriffs, for what you gave her in love and affection and respect, and you deserve it, every one of you. So thank you very much.
I want to close very quickly by saying we're missing the Monet exhibit. I think Tom mentioned that. We have been to the Art Museum, the Zoo, the Natural History Museum, I still call it that, but it's the Museum of Nature and Science, yeah. But we went to every major exhibit. Peg would get them set up and we'd come down. And so Kearns and I and my husband and Peg, we'd go out always for a nice lunch, have a leisurely glass of wine. Then we had our time to go to the exhibit, particularly the Art Museum. And we made every single exhibit. And we have promised each other that we're going to get there this year to the Monet exhibit. And it ends, I think, in February.
I think we'll make it.
We're going to have to get on the ball. So she was a wonderful friend.
One other quick thing. I sat with her at the hospital early on in June when she was diagnosed. And she knew that it was bad news. And she sat inside of her bed and she said, this is the way I'm going out. And she said, I'm okay with that. I'm going to be 85 years old. I have wonderful friends and I've had a wonderful career. A little spotty, she said, she winked. But she said, I'm satisfied. So I don't want people to mourn me I want them to be happy because I'm happy, so.
Fall over that every time. Watch out.
We don't follow them.
That was beautiful.
You kids are all so great. Hi. It's so nice to see everybody here today. I'm Donna Davidson, and I was Arapahoe County Clerk and also Secretary of State. And you know, one of the things that I want to say about Peg that hasn't been mentioned yet, Peg was a giver. Peg constantly, if she liked you, she was knocking on your door or calling you or whatever it might be that you were going to run for office. It didn't matter if it was a county office, a legislative seat, or a state seat. She was there to assist you and making sure that your campaign was run right. Like you said, you remodeled her house so she could actually, when I went in there, it was like a campaign office, the best dinner that you could have. And the table, a huge table set up where we could collate anything that we wanted to. She was a giver. Nobody went to her and asked for help. She was there and volunteered. She was constantly giving to any of us that needed assistance because she knew that she was far better at that computer than we were. And she designed our logos and designed things, and it really was great. Then that gave me the opportunity to work with her. As county clerk, I worked with her with legislation with the county clerks. And definitely, she was always, at that time, she would print out the calendars or send them an email where we had it. The technology hadn't quite gotten to where it is, but she made sure we were aware of what bill was going to be up and when I needed to be there and how I was prepared for the testimony, whatever the case might be. She made sure that you were covered. You know, she knew how, as some of you said, she really knew how to handle legislation. If you were supporting it, if it was a clerk's bill, she was right in there supporting it, and she could count votes better than a lot of people in that legislature. She made sure that we were okay and going to have the votes carried through. She also made sure that we were aware and that every clerk was aware of what was going on, just not the one that was doing the legislation for the clerks, but everybody was aware. She had that insight that she was a writer. She definitely knew how to promote the bill and talk to us about it, or if there was issues with it, she would talk about this individual or that individual would be willing to change it, and where it would be a piece of legislation that we could support, or if it was just bad legislation, she knew how to get that bill eliminated. So she had that knowledge that she could carry through and make sure everything was handled right. We were very successful. And as Secretary of State, I will say, she came to meetings after meetings after meetings and sat there and took notes and made sure that the clerks had that information. And that's valuable. Not many lobbyists would go that far and make sure that their clients were taken care of. She was always willing to be the one to step up and make sure that things were handled correctly. She was also a great friend. When I went to D.C., when I get to see her, she would say, you know, Donette, I know you love the chilies, and I've been down to Mexico, and I've got lots in my freezer. If you want to take some back to D.C. and put them in your suitcase, you can. And I thought, those clothes would smell. Had
like you said, the museum, she would say, I've got the museum, so anytime you ever want to go, you just let me know. What a great person she was. She was a professional, she was your friend, and she was such a giving individual. I know everybody in this room loved her dearly, and she will be missed at the Capitol, but you know what? Her presence is going to be felt here. You're going to think she's going to walk around the corner at any moment. She will be around. So I know you're going to love everybody's stories, enjoy it, and have a wonderful morning.
Welcome everyone, my name is Tony Spurlock. I'm the Sheriff of Douglas County, and I am honored to be the President of the County Sheriffs of Colorado. And on behalf of all of the Sheriffs of Colorado, I'd ask all the past and current sheriffs, please stand real quick, if you would. There's a lot of folks in here, so thank you guys. I was honored when I was asked to say a few words on behalf of Peg, coming from the sheriffs. And I talked to a number of folks and put some things down, but listening to everyone here, from the family and to other friends, you guys captured her very clearly of who she was as a person. And there's this other image of her out there, this lobbyist, and a person who kind of worked the back rooms of this house. But all the sheriffs in here, if you ever had the chance to experience her, you knew where you stood. She would lay out the bills. She'd say, these are the ones that are of interest to you. These are the ones we're not going to spend any time on because it doesn't make any difference. And these are the ones that we need to probably have some work on. And then she would lay out the plan. And if some inexperienced sheriff would raise their hand and talk out of turn, she was not afraid to remind you who was really in charge here. But the other thing that she did for us was she would come to every one of our conferences. And all the sheriffs, particularly past sheriffs who've been around a while, she would come to the conferences, and I'm just saying that we used to have a hospitality room. It's pretty guarded now. But Pam would come in there, and she would come in just to see us one time, and then she would leave. And she was like, yeah, I don't want to see you guys doing anything inappropriate. And then she would leave. But she would come to the conferences, she would come to the classes, and then of course every conference we would have a legislative update, and she would go through the updates and tell us where we stood, what we should do, issues of the nature, and she would give us some insight that for many of us who don't get down here often, she would give us some insight. These are the people you need to go talk to, and that was so important for us as an organization, because 64 sheriffs, and I should have, it would have been rude to do this, but I should have asked Peg before she left us, Peg, can you help me with this, man? Because she always had it figured out exactly how many sheriffs she had taken care of over 30-some years, and she had served as the legislator for the County Sheriffs of Colorado. And I took a stab at it, and I said, I have to do this because it's embarrassing. Hundreds, literally hundreds of years. Although she served us, think about all the sheriffs and the experience over 30-some years, and all of the people that she had touched, and the experience that she had input on around the state of Colorado. The other thing that she would do is she was always, this is one thing that struck me the most, is that she knew every legislator, where they served, and she knew every sheriff in that area. and she would reach out to those sheriffs. And the rural parts of the state of Colorado sometimes don't get proper representation, sometimes that they need and deserve. And she would say, okay, this is what's happening, this is your legislator. If you don't know, you should have his cell phone number, his or her cell phone number in your phone. And she would come sometimes to conferences, the sheriffs from Vermont, say, who has a cell phone number for legislator X? And you had better put up 10. Especially 10 years. I learned that. I texted Paulie one time. Paulie, I need to have this up at legislators. I don't have it. She's going to ask me. Because she knew the importance of relationship. She knew the importance of making sure that all of these small little groups would come together, link together, and in the end come to this place here. And the lawmakers would make law to serve the greater Colorado. And she knew that. And she knew how it was done. And she knew that a little place in San Juan County, Colorado, that they need to have a voice, but she knew that they had to make sure that link was done to Durango, to La Plata, and over to Montrose and up into Mesa. She knew that. And so she would tell you, this is the plan laid out. The other thing I thought was really funny about her is that she, as you guys said, she was a no-nonsense woman, but there were many times we would be here late at night in committees, and she would sit by the sheriffs, always did, and this last year she got up, she goes, I'm going to go home and get sit down, okay? This is a waste of time.
That's Peg.
So you guys know that's how she was.
Oh my God.
Her dog was important to her, and she knew this is a waste of time. And she would go. The other thing about her is you say that she was small in stature, but she was huge in compassion and determination. And there were times where I was here, and other sheriffs were here, and there were lobbyists and other legislators around. And Peg usually, you guys know her, she was quiet. She kind of like over here like this to you. You'd have to get down sometimes to listen to her. But on occasion, she would speak with this voice. And you knew it wasn't for you to hear. There's a little legislator 4 chairs over here. And she would say stuff. And we're like, we were told, don't ever say this, don't say this, don't say that. And then she would turn around and do it. And she would say, no, this is just for them. And she would say things they need to hear. You can't say that, Sheriff. You don't go up there and testify. You can't say that. Okay? And then she would say it. She would make sure that it got said and that it got heard. And I saw that a couple times in the last couple of years, which I thought, yeah, I'm not going to mess with her. This is how we need to keep it the way it is. And she did love the sheriffs, and you could tell that. She was always very, very passionate about where the office of sheriff is at. And in the last couple of years, a number of states around us have made some constitutional attacks on the office of sheriff. And she would reach out to those states and make sure that she had all the information available to come back to us and say, listen, this is how you need to approach this. And she loved the fact that the office of sheriff was a constitutional office. It was voted in, the people made the decision, and she believed in that. And she believed in all of that. She believed in the government. She loved the government. She cursed it sometimes, but she loved the government, and she loved the way that the process was. And she said, we can't change, we can't disrupt this process, it would not be good. And that's what I took most from her. And I had the pleasure of being at the Capitol a number of times the last 3, 4, 5 years, where Peg was winding down her business a little bit. And we were spending a lot of time with mine. But yet Peg would be there on those important days. You knew it. You'd turn around and there she just appeared. And you knew that she cared. And it was about the people that were involved and the service that was going to be given further down the road. When she did something, it wasn't about today. She always thought it was for the future. And here's the other thing, I spent a lot of time with her. I ate some really crappy food downstairs at the cafeteria, waiting to testify with her. And she would talk, I did not know the level of education she had, all of those amazing things that she had done before she came, as we call her ours, as she became Peg to us, and she was ours. What an incredible woman, and what an incredible legacy that she has left for her family and for the rest of us, for sheriffs who have had the pleasure of sitting next to her and getting the coaching notes and then going up and testifying on bills. And so, on behalf of the County Sheriffs of Colorado, every sheriff, we are saddened. Our condolences for your loss and for the people of the state of Colorado for the loss of a wonderful, wonderful woman who served them in so many ways that they didn't even know. So on behalf of them, we thank all of you for being here. God bless.
My friends and family to speak about our dear, dear soul. I will tell you that early this morning I woke up and I was thinking, I'm going to go to the Capitol. And I haven't been down there for quite a while. But I woke up and I have to go to the Capitol and it's, oh, Peg. I had this urge to run downstairs and read a bill. And as you always tell us, read your bills. You got to know what you're doing. I'm going to take the liberty of using a few Pegisms, if you don't mind, and I'm going to do it if you do mind. Because Peg had a certain set of phrases that she would occasionally use, and they're ones that I absolutely love to think about. Peg had her ducks in a row. There's no question about it. She was always deliberate. She was always had a plan. And if she didn't have a plan, she had a plan B and a plan C. And she expected you to have the same perspective of life. She had her ducks in a row. But I'll also tell you, I have visual proof, and then you're going to have to acknowledge this by a head shake, that dear Peg had her ducks in a row. Because on any given day, there could have been 3 or 5 or 10 sheriffs someplace in the Capitol. And we would follow Peg wherever she wanted us to go. We had sheriffs the size of Joe Pelly. We had sheriffs the size of Ted Mink. We had other sheriffs that were a little shorter. But Peg was the shortest of all of us. But she would walk through these halls, and we would absolutely, without question, follow her wherever she went. And to this day, I thank God she didn't have to go to the restroom. 10 sheriffs in the ladies' room. We didn't want to disappoint Peg. We wouldn't allow it. And frankly, we wouldn't allow other people to speak ill of that dear soul. We may not say anything too loud, but we would declare. And God help them if they got on the elevator with us whenever they had said something trashy about Peg. She did leave her ducks around and we followed willingly. I'll also tell you a story that I love. Back in 2009, there was some legislation that had to do with the bail bond industry. And somebody down here thought it was a cool idea to have Dog the Bounty Hunter come down. The dog showed up.
Like a month he was here.
That was kind of ironic because, you know, Peg, quiet, unassuming, always had the same fashion statement working almost all the time, which was really wonderful because it had to do with consistency. And here through the doors comes Dog. T-shirt cut off at the arms, tattoos all over the place, and he was doing the dog, the gun show for Dog. And as we were having our discussions about how we were going to go after this bill, Peg said, don't worry about it, we got it covered. Partway through the process in the theater, Dog was wandering around talking with people, getting pictures taken. Peg was just sitting back in the corner, just smiling like crazy, typical Peg. All of a sudden, the bill went away because there were some language changes that just kind of caused it to be irrelevant. Well, after that day, and I had the absolute blessing to be part of the legislative process with Peg for almost 18 years. 18 years of legislation and 3 lifetimes of lessons, thanks to that dear soul. At the end of that day, Peg and I retreated to Ackerman World Headquarters on down. And we decided we really needed, I know this is surprising, we needed a glass of wine to try to figure out how our day went and what our next strategy was. And while we were talking, I looked at Peg and we were laughing about Dog and his gun show. And I said, Peg, we have to go down to Colfax and get you a tattoo. Because Dog has ink all over the place. She laughed about it, we had a good joke, just she and I. But we also decided at the end of the evening it'd be a great gag to make the sheriffs think Peg's getting a tattoo. So we took that gag forward and decided we needed to come clean and let them know it was a gag when we realized the pledges of money coming in for sheriffs for Peg's aid was actually going to be something that an NBA star player would envy about the aid that was coming. So we told them, and several of them sat back and said, well, are you sure? Yeah, we're sure. Believe me, Peg Ackerman is not getting the tattoo. The interesting part about the Dog the Bounty Hunter gun show was I told Peg, you know, once in a while I'm going to have a Peg gun show. And now, she's, as you all know, the most dignified, quiet, unassuming lady in the world. But between she and I, every once in a while, something would happen and the sheriffs would win. Or somebody she was lobbying for or against, she would prevail. And every once in a while, I'd look up to the gallery or I'd look in the back of the hearing room and I'd see this. I got to see the Peg Ackerman gun show. I miss her dearly, but I will always think of her. She will always be part of my life, as all of yours. I miss our discussions. Like all of you, we've had some great discussions. We talked about politics in the Rockies. We talked about justice reform and ZIP in the Rockies. We talked about strategy in the Rockies. I really think she missed her calling. She was a great lobbyist, but I think she would have been a wonderful bench coach for the Rockies. Because those little ducks would have followed along very well. And it would have been ironic in Major League Baseball because there would have been no spitting, no scratching, and no cussing. I know that the wonderful hoax that was pulled on Peg in the last few days about Charlie Blackman being traded and the reaction that she got. I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, what would Peg do if that really happened? And I think all of you would agree that there would be an Ackerman curse upon the Rockies. It wouldn't be as bad as the curse of the Bambino, and it wouldn't be something as serious as Marie Laveau could pull together on you, but it would be a curse on the Rockies. If she were to hear that Blackman was leaving, Peg would issue the worst curse word that I ever heard pass that dear person's lips. Damn fools. I also have to make a confession to my brother and sister sheriffs and to all of you. Tony talked earlier about the times that Peg went to the conferences for CSOC, and she was a force to be reckoned with all the time. I would take every opportunity I could to drive her to those conferences. And everybody said, well, that's really nice, you're helping Peg out. But I have to confess, it had nothing to do with being nice. It had everything in the world that I wanted, alone time with my dear sister Peg. And I cherished every moment because every moment was absolutely critical to me as a man, as a sheriff, and someone who could learn life's lessons by riding to God knows where in Colorado with that dear soul. She was ethical, she was kind, She was your friend, through and through. And if she was your enemy, you didn't know it. But you sure hope she wasn't. Because you were going to pay the price, and you'd never know which train came down the track and got you. I am better for Peggy Ackerman. And all of us are better for Peggy Ackerman. I think it's ironic that we're doing this beneath the Golden Dome, where with all due respect, a lot of folks think they're the smartest person in the room almost every day. And the truth of the matter is, Dr. Ackerman was and is the smartest person in the room, and she didn't have to tell you, she would show you. Her actions spoke louder than her words, and we were all better for it, and we were grateful.
And in case you missed it, that was Grayson Robinson, former Arapahoe County Sheriff.
Good morning to Peg's family and friends. My name is Karen Long. I'm the former Adams County Clerk and Recorder and a past president of the County Clerks Association of Colorado. Many former county clerk friends who could not be in attendance today, and those of us who are here, extend our sincere sympathies to you and are so appreciative that we all had the multitude of years to spend with Peg. Ann Evans from Delta County, Carol Snyder from Adams County, Nancy Amy from Rio Blanco County, Scott Doyle, Larimer County, Patty Nickel, Bibb County, Pam Anderson, Jefferson County, Donetta Davidson, I would remind her, she's gone, was also the Bibb County Clerk and Recorder, as well as Arapahoe County. And we all send our condolences for you, the family. From my perspective, over the 20 years of work and friendship with Peg, I came to know her as a cherished friend, dedicated Colorado Rockies fan, dog lover, mentor, outstanding legislative lobbyist, family heritage proud, New Mexico and Colorado proud, and very proud of all of her friends. To say that Peg knew her way around the Capitol and nearby downtown, the legislature and the political arena and the personalities, and the county clerk's world is to acknowledge she was masterful at her profession. Over the years, Peg was so very proud to represent numerous local elected officials groups. Our constitutional and statutory job responsibilities always in the forefront of her mind and mission, knowing full well that her hand in the lawmaking process would eventually touch every citizen of this state. She knew the serious impact her work could have. She had her finger on the pulse of lawmaking. Peg's perspective on new laws being passed, current laws being rewritten, and cleaning up unintended consequences was unique. She had a real knack for tracking the plethora of legislation for numerous local elected officials during a legislative session, as well as attending the legislative working groups when out of session. Peg was, in short, no pun intended, a walking, talking set of the Colorado Revised Statute. When Peg was mission ready, step aside. Several of my county clerk friends, their staffs, and I often commented that you had to run to keep up with her. But we always knew our best interests were in her good hands. Peg had a quiet, intense command of her profession. You knew when you watched her in action that she was highly respected, pulled no punches, spoke the truth and nothing but the truth, and was succinct in her message delivery. Peg was always willing to share her knowledge and political savvy with us. She had an uncanny understanding when to reach out to other resources and partners. Colorado Municipal League, Special District Association, Secretary of State, Department of Revenue, other state departments, and citizen advocacy groups, to name only a few. She maintained a great rapport with the governor and the lieutenant governor and their staffs, state legislators and their staffs, other legislative staff in the building, and even the Colorado State Patrol. Peg's integrity, being fair, honest, and trustworthy, are her legacy. To say Peg was passionate about her life's work would be an understatement. In closing, we are so blessed and thankful to have known Peg, have her represent us, and share her friendship. I have a couple of comments from former clerks. Scott Doyle from Larimer County says, Peg the person. Peg was a friend to many and wanted only what was good and right for the citizens of Colorado. She never exercised her own political bias or working for that. Peg the professional. To be great means one must be consistent. Peg was definitely consistent. Peg, my friend. Every year she would send me pistachios at Christmas, and I would send her a bottle of homemade wine. We both made out on that deal. From Patty Nickel from Benton County, she says, Peg gave me a tour of the Capitol and helped me find my dad's picture on the state representative composite. She did this during a lunch break at one of the Election Reform Commission meetings. Always the ultimate professional and such a nice lady. Nancy Amick from Rio Blanco County has shared some of her thoughts. Peg Ackerman was a legend long before I became a county clerk in 1991. I remember my first meeting with Peg in the basement of the Capitol building after I was a new county clerk. She had her plan of action for the day laid out, and action it was. It was hard to keep up with her as she navigated the halls, and harder yet to hear her instructions for the day. Naturally, it would be a waste of energy to stay in one spot and talk. After Nancy became president of the County Clerks Association, she says my appreciation and respect for Peg only increased. She had an uncanny sixth sense when it came to the legislature, and she knew what fights to expect. During a particular tough battle, I could count on phone calls beginning at 5:30 in the morning. She knew I was a rancher's wife and would be up. Soon my mother's ironclad rule of no phone calls before 8 in the morning or after 8 at night went out the window. And I was calling Peg often at 6 a.m., knowing that she would be up and waiting to share the latest developments. She was proud of her ranching background in New Mexico. She once mentioned to me that they would work so hard and her Levi's would get so dirty that she could stand them up in the corner when she finally went to bed. She spoke fondly of a good beef steak and hated any weed with a passion. Peg took me under her wing like a mother hen, protecting me with her political savvy in light of my political ignorance. I'm sure she knew I needed extra care and was not sparing in giving it. She was never condescending, but a tough, gracious lady to her core. It was not uncommon after a particularly long day at the Capitol, followed by a long drive over the mountains in inclement weather, for her to call my husband to make sure that I had made it home safely. Did she ever make it to even 5 foot tall with those 2-inch heels on her cowboy boots? I'm not sure, but in my mind, she is a giant, one I will sorely miss. In closing, we are so blessed and thankful to have known Peg, have her represent us in this building, and share her friendship.
And as we're getting closer to the end, the other son, Mike.
Good morning, I think. I'm Mike Beasley. I met Peg when I was a senior in high school. So 3 or 4 years. My hair was one color. We met on a campaign for a woman who was in the legislature who was a Democrat, got mad at the governor and switched to Republican. A lady named Faith Lemon, who she ultimately became business partners with later on. And I was Faye's intern. And that's really where I started to learn how campaigns work, or how they should work. And, you know, Peg was her brain was really the first computer. We talked about the almanacs or journals that she wrote and the maps that she did with her friend Kenton in the back were long before computers. They were invaluable tools and helped document history. And there's not much that I can add to what all of these wonderful people have said. So what I have to say is to all of you, you know, Peg, for me, a lot of firsts. When I lost my job at Home Builders, the first person offered me a job was Peg, which made my wife, who was 5 months pregnant, very happy. She should have never hired me, but I'm really glad that she did. Peg was the first to really identify and see talent in people willing to serve in public life, which is a terrible job, and do everything she could to help them. She passed away on the day of one of her really good friends and idols, Dottie Wong's memorial service. But folks like Dottie Wong, Sally Hopper, the Peggies, they rose to that level, and they were great legislators. They were great leaders for our state. And Carol Snyder, we mentioned earlier, was a minority leader. She would not have been, she sent me a note, I would not have been minority leader, I would not have been in public life if it weren't for Peg. That's really important, especially for you young ladies. I'm not picking on you, I'll get to you in a second. There were a couple of boys that made through that glass ceiling of Pegs. Folks like Gary McPherson. I remember Gary's kids, when my daughter was in her car seat on top of the Ackerman World Headquarters desk, she would be doing Gary's literature on the computer, and she'd have the sheriff stuff online, trying to help them. But Gary, who's no longer with us, repeatedly would tell people, without her, she could talk to the voters better than I ever could, is what he would say. So I'm going to conclude, and then we're going to take a couple of minutes at people who are not on this agenda. I'm the last, so you can take a breath there. But what we found over the last few months, and I talked to Peg about this, I think, you know, my parents don't really know what I do, right? They tell people he works at the Capitol, but they don't really want to. But I think for you guys, you've learned in much greater detail than you ever imagined the impact that Peg has had. And so before we go to that, I want to say there's one thing that Peg did want to say, because I don't think she really wanted this. But she did, and I told her I thought we would have it here. She loved this building. She loved this process. Some of the staffers that are here today, she had the greatest respect for. The folks that do the fiscal notes, that draft the bills, and it says a lot when they would email or call her to ask them, how could they do A, B, and C? What a great legacy. So with that, I know there are a couple of people that want to say, take a few more minutes before we conclude, if that's all right with you.
Are you going to give me a car?
I'm going to give you.
Look under my seat, yes. My name is Ann Terry, and I had the honor of working with Peg for many years on a variety of levels. Peg was amazing. I've heard honest, ethical, lots of integrity, and a dog lover. She would call me and say, okay, I need to know, does Ziv need a friend? Could you come over and see if Ziv needs a friend? Sure. We concluded that Ziv did not need a friend, that everything was going to be okay. Peg was one of those that, I can't remember who said it, was a woman of firsts. She was a great mentor to women and men. Who knew her politics? You did if you were away from the Capitol, but you didn't when we were at the Capitol. She taught me how to testify. She taught me how to sign in. She taught me to write meter on my cards that I would give to legislators. For those of you I gave you those cards, sorry. I didn't learn that lesson. She was absolutely brilliant, as we know, but she was quiet about it. When you would spend time with her, just as Gracie Robinson said, she would open up and tell you stories. I love to hear how she used to ride the fences. She said she'd go out there like 10, 11 years old and ride those fences. I'm like, what parent's going to let you do that? And she said, no, my dad let me go do that. She, we have these meetings at CCLEA. For those of you in law enforcement know what that is. It's a law enforcement legislative group. And we have it at the DA's council where I worked. And she, the first time I met her, she walked in and I thought, oh, thank God there's another woman in the room. Oh, thank God she's not taller than me. I can actually talk face to face with her. No one has to go down and talk to me. So she taught me how that system works. She taught me how to read bills, how to track bills. She showed me the code to the bathrooms that no longer exist, so that I wouldn't have to run just downstairs to use the restroom. She showed me where Julie Pellegrin, I saw her earlier, where her office was and who she was and why I needed to talk to her. But she also taught me to care and to love and to be extremely straightforward with what I was working on and to be straightforward in life. She called me to tell me she was building a supercomputer. My husband is an engineer person, and I had to say, what's a supercomputer? He said, well, Peg and I talked about it. She actually called me and we talked about what she would do. I'm like, are you kidding me? But she was just so well-read and well-intended in everything she did. She was a legend here, and she was bigger than life. And I look forward to getting to spend more time learning more about her from all of you, as well as getting to live on in all the things that she taught us. Peg was amazing. So thank you so much for sharing her with us. She was a great friend. She did take me to a baseball game. I'm not that great of a fan. I think I annoyed her. And she was amazingly giving. She included this, we like to say. I had never seen her eat. We've been at all these meetings, and who are you kidding? You were the same one. And I never ever saw her eat a meal with us. So one day I said, Peg, what do you eat? She's like, why don't you come over and have breakfast with me? And I said, okay. She fed me the best green chilies. I'm from Iowa. You don't have green chilies. and she then gave me green chilies every single year. And I learned to cook them, love them, and every time I eat one, I think of her.
Well, we're pushing the time of this event and our time together, but just a couple of comments. My first encounter with Peg was just decided that I was going to try and launch a run for sheriff in Ramsey County. And I was told by Carol Snyder and Karen Long that I would make a wise choice to get myself downtown and meet with Peg. I didn't know Peg. I didn't know who Peg was. So I came down. And I wasn't down here to meet with her as much as I was to participate in another conversation. We got done with that conversation and I was getting ready to leave. Working down the hallway, getting ready to go down the stairs. And up the stairs, I saw this small lady walking, and I kind of stepped aside, and she stepped towards me. And I stepped aside, because I thought I was letting her go by, but she was walking right at me. I'd never met her before, and she said, "Doug Dar, we need to talk." And so the rest of my day was kind of set aside because we were meeting with Peg. And she said, "We have some things we need to talk about." When she found out that I am a baseball addict, I was in the club. And that's just the way it was from that point on. There are some who said today that she adhered to that Code of the West principle of talk less and say more. Well, in my experience, on a couple of occasions, she talked more and said more to me, especially if she thought I was on the wrong side of an issue. And she made sure that I understood. Now, it's no accident that we're here today. I don't think. This is where she spent a good portion of her life. This is her life's work, or all part of her life's work. If you take a look at all things that have happened within this government over the last many years, the fabric of it includes her. She's right in the middle of it. Now, I usually look at politics as kind of, was I able to survive it? Peg didn't look at it that way. Peg excelled at it, loved it, was involved in it. And the question is, why? Well, it's probably because of the strength of her character. She knew how to make a promise, and she knew how to keep it. If she said it, she was sticking by it. She knew what needed to be done, and she did it. A lot of people just talk about it. She didn't just talk about it. She was straightforward, honest, upfront, and she wasn't afraid. We were down here late one evening when it came to some marijuana issues, and we didn't get out of here until pretty close to midnight. And she was parked down the way in her parking garage, and I offered to walk with her. And she said, "I don't need any help. Nobody's going to mess with me." As we walked to her parking spot, I began to feel a little bit of comfort because she wasn't afraid of anybody out there, so maybe I shouldn't be either. Okay. She had this habit of occasionally, from time to time, giving me a book. Now, I originally thought that she was giving me the book because she was trying to give me something entertaining to read, but that wasn't the case. She expected them to be read quickly. She expected a report back. When I tried to give the books back to her, she didn't want them. She wanted me to keep them. And she always had a point. The point of reading those hundreds of pages was to drive something home, to help me to understand something. Now, probably the thing that I'll remember most is her love for the sheriffs. I mean, all the guys who were in here, who served in that position, know it. We could feel it. She took care of us. We were like her colleagues, her associates, her kids at times. That's just the way that she was. Not only did she love them, she'd do anything for you. And when you take a look at the quality of a person, there's a couple of ways to take a good look. One is to take a look at the company they keep. And if you look around this room, you'll see a company that is pretty extraordinary. People who have worked a lifetime in law, or with legislation, or law enforcement, or trying to make the life better for other people. And the other is to take a look at their respect for the truth, their regard for other people, and how they work and live. They led an extraordinary life and had an impact on so many people. Extraordinary lady that we will miss. Thank you. about you guys. I've learned a lot today. I said in the beginning that this will be the last thing I'll do for Peg. Not sure. I think each of us will try to take a piece of it and go forward with what we learned. We were going to try to have a little bit of an open mic session, but because of the time getting started late, here's what I would suggest. After we're done closing, come up, look at the pictures. Peg's hat. One of the sheriffs asked me, he says, well, are we going to bring Peg in? My comment was, I don't think there's enough of Peg to go around, so the sheriffs is going to be here. And so bring your stories forward. Tell them to the family. We're going to have, let Peg have the last words as I interpret them. And I only have that permission from her niece Clara, because the one thing you guys should do if you haven't done is go to YouTube. If you can't figure it out, remember Peg could. And look for the history of Margaret Ackerman. It'll be 21 minutes. You will not forget. So in closing, and thank you, Clara, for saying I got this close enough. Do what makes you happy, whether it's academic or trade school. Do what makes you happy, and do it well. Thank you all for being here, and please stand as we remove the flags.
Honor guard, attention! Forward march! Detail, hope. Prepare to retrieve colors. Ready? Retreat. Ready? March.
Again, thank you, everybody. Please be sure to grab one of the flyers.